The fluorescent hum of the security office was relentless, a constant backdrop that made every keystroke feel louder than it should. Lieutenant Marcus Hale leaned back in his chair, rubbing the bridge of his nose as he scanned the report glowing on the hollow screen. Officially, the incident had been self-defense. That single line, typed with mechanical detachment, made it seem like a routine confrontation, a lucky, chaotic scuffle that ended without further consequence. But Marcus knew better. He had seen the footage. The report detailed 7 casualties, 7 men, elite operatives, all neutralized in seconds by a single human. The narrative insisted it had been unavoidable, that the lone human had acted under threat. Yet the description was clinical and disjointed, like it was written to obscure the truth rather than clarify it. Marcus's gut told him the truth lay somewhere else entirely. He leaned forward, fingers hovering over the interface. The names of the 7 flashed on the screen: Rourke, Jansen, Patel, Chun, Vasquez, Novak, and Simmons. Each name conjured a mental image: trained, capable, disciplined. They were the best the agency had to offer, handpicked for a high-risk mission meant to neutralize threats too dangerous for standard units. And each of them had been taken down in the span of what, a heartbeat? 2 at most? Marcus swiped through their bios. Rourke, 32, martial arts specialist, noted for precision strikes. Jansen, a former Special Forces operative, lethal under pressure. Patel, the tech and strategy expert, always 3 steps ahead. Chun, Vasquez, Novak, Simmons, each with his own formidable skill set. Collectively, they were near unstoppable. Yet the footage showed them falling as if the laws of physics themselves had bent against them. The office door hissed, and Sergeant Dorian Lee stepped in, scanning Marcus with a mixture of curiosity and unease. "You've been at it for hours," Lee said, his voice low, almost conspiratorial. "Still going over the same footage?" Marcus gestured at the screen. "You've read the report, haven't you?" Lee nodded, but his expression was cautious. "Official story? Self-defense. 1 human, 7 casualties. Couldn't be simpler." Marcus's eyes narrowed.
"Simpler, yes.
Accurate? Hardly." He pressed a few commands, and the hollow screen shifted to playback mode. A suspended frame of the fight hovered before them. A single man, his stance calm, almost casual, amid 7 adversaries converging from every angle. Lee's eyes widened. That doesn't make sense. I mean, look at them. 7 trained operatives and his voice trailed off. Marcus didn't need words to continue. He played the footage. Every movement was deliberate, fluid. The human sidestepped Rourke's strike, countered Jansen before he could draw his weapon, disarmed Patel mid-leap, and neutralized the remaining 4 with precision that seemed impossible. There was no hesitation, no panic. Just efficiency, as though he had practiced this scenario 1,000 times in his mind before it even happened. The silence afterward was almost suffocating. Lee finally exhaled. "That isn't self-defense. That's execution." Marcus felt a chill, though it wasn't the temperature of the office. Execution, yes. But that's not the half of it. Look closer. He zoomed in on the human's eyes. Cold, calculating, yet oddly calm. Not a trace of fear. Not even adrenaline. Marcus's stomach tightened. Whoever this man was, he wasn't just skilled. He was something else entirely. Lee's brow furrowed. Something else? You mean enhanced? Enhanced, Marcus murmured. Or born this way. Either way, he's not supposed to exist at this level of capability. And the agency's report? It's trying to make it look like a fluke. The hum of the fluorescent lights seemed louder, oppressive, as Marcus leaned back and rubbed his temples. The report, the BIOS, the footage, they were all pieces of a puzzle that didn't fit. How could one man, unarmed by some of the footage's accounts, dismantle 7 highly trained operatives in under 10 seconds? The logic, training, probability, none of it held up. Lee glanced at him, unease clear in his features. "You're saying the report is lying?" Marcus shook his head. "Not lying. Misleading. Politically convenient. But the footage doesn't lie. And if the footage ever gets out," he left the thought hanging. Consequences, both professional and geopolitical, could be catastrophic. He leaned forward again, tapping his fingers against the console. Each tap echoed his growing realization. This wasn't just about a fight. It was about human potential, about what humans could do when pushed past conventional limits. And if one man could do this to 7 trained operatives, what else could he do? Lee's voice was a whisper. Do you think he knows we've seen this? Marcus didn't answer immediately. He studied the footage again, frame by frame, noting subtle cues, the human's breathing, the way he adjusted his stance, the almost imperceptible timing that gave him absolute control. If he did know, Marcus thought grimly, he would be watching too, waiting for the next move, the next test. The holoscreen blinked, highlighting the human's final stance.
Calm.
Collected. Untouched. The 7 lay still, defeated, and the narrative of self-defense crumbled under the weight of undeniable proof. Marcus felt a mixture of fear, awe, and a strange exhilaration. He leaned back, exhaling slowly. The report said one thing. The footage said another. And Marcus knew he had to find out which story the world would believe, and at what cost. The screen dimmed as the playback ended, leaving the office in semi-darkness. Marcus and Lee exchanged a glance, the gravity of what they'd just witnessed settling between them like a physical weight. Whatever came next, they realized, it would be bigger than any of them could have anticipated. And somewhere, Marcus thought, the human had already moved on. Waiting. Watching. Calculating. Marcus hit play, again, the footage stretching across the holoscreen like a window into another reality. The room seemed to shrink as the scene unfolded. One human facing 7 highly trained operatives, each moving with lethal intent, each armed, each confident they were the predators. The human didn't flinch. Not once. His stance was a study in calm control, feet planted firmly, body poised to absorb or redirect any force. Marcus leaned forward, unable to tear his eyes away. Time slowed in his mind, each frame revealing details the report had omitted. The subtle twitch of muscles, the precise arc of a swing, the way the human's gaze calculated angles and weaknesses in real time. Rourke lunged first, his fists a blur, aiming for a strike that would have taken down most men instantly. The human sidestepped effortlessly, letting Rourke's momentum carry him past. With a fluid motion, he pivoted, gripping Rourke's arm and flipping him over his shoulder, landing him in a heap before he even hit the ground. Marcus's jaw tightened. There was no hesitation, no wasted movement, only perfect, instantaneous efficiency. Jansen moved next, a former Special Forces operative with reflexes honed through years of lethal drills. He drew a stun baton and lunged from the left flank, but the human anticipated him, a flicker of a glance guiding his next move. In a single motion, he swept Jansen's legs and twisted him onto the floor, the baton clattering harmlessly out of reach. The timing was impossible. Jansen had been faster than most, yet he hadn't landed a single blow. Patel, the strategist, tried to intervene with precision strikes, but the human's movements were already calculated 3 steps ahead. He intercepted Patel mid-leap, deflecting an energy pulse with a wrist movement so subtle it seemed almost casual. Patel stumbled, regaining balance, only to find himself pinned under the human's gaze, assessing every twitch as if reading a blueprint of the body. Chun and Vasquez came together from opposite angles, hoping to overwhelm, to corner him. Marcus felt a shiver run down his spine. 2 against 1 should have forced hesitation, yet the human remained unflinching. He shifted his weight slightly, a ghost of motion, and both attackers found themselves thrown apart, colliding with each other in a tangle of limbs. Marcus could almost hear the incredulity in their eyes. Novak and Simmons were last. By now, Marcus could see the fear creeping into their movements. Not panic, but calculation, trying to find an opening where none existed. They advanced in tandem, weapons raised, strategy evident in every microsecond. The human waited. 1, 2 beats, and in the next instant, Novak was disarmed and sent sprawling backward, Simmons stumbling after him. It was over before it had truly begun. The room where Marcus sat felt oppressively silent. The holoscreen replayed the sequence again, and each viewing revealed subtleties previously missed. The way the human shifted his center of gravity to redirect force, the economy of motion that made him appear almost superhuman. Marcus's thoughts raced. He had trained with the best, studied combat algorithms, read thousands of reports, but he had never seen anything like this. Lee leaned closer, voice barely above a whisper. They weren't just defeated, they were dismantled. Methodically, and not one of them landed a scratch. Marcus nodded, unease creeping into his chest. It's not just skill. It's precision, timing, anticipation. It's something else. Something no human should be capable of. The footage showed the final moments. The human stood alone amid 7 fallen operatives, his breathing steady, his expression unreadable. There was no triumph, no celebration, only calm, absolute mastery. Marcus felt an unsettling mixture of awe and dread. The report had claimed self-defense, yet the scene on the screen contradicted every word. This wasn't desperation, it was dominance. He paused the footage, freezing the human mid-stance. Marcus studied him carefully, lean but muscular, movements refined to perfection, eyes sharp and assessing even in stillness. There was intelligence here, yes, but also something more primal, instinctive, beyond what any training could teach. He had dismantled 7 trained, lethal men without breaking a sweat, yet there was no malice in his actions, only efficiency. Lee's voice broke the silence again. Do you realize what this means? 7 elite operatives, gone in seconds. And they weren't killed by accident, they were neutralized systematically. Someone wrote the report to cover that up. Marcus's mind raced. The implications were staggering. If this man was human, he represented a new echelon of capability. If he wasn't, then the agency was hiding something far larger, something designed to be lethal beyond comprehension. Either scenario was terrifying. He leaned back in his chair, trying to process it. The human hadn't just survived an impossible encounter, he had rewritten the rules of engagement entirely. Marcus realized that the 7 operatives, with all their experience, training, and firepower, had been utterly outclassed. The footage didn't lie. It was undeniable proof of something extraordinary, something the report had carefully obscured. A soft alert blinked on the console, reminding Marcus that the feed was still active, still recording. Somewhere, somehow, the human could know he was being observed. Marcus's chest tightened at the thought. If he did, would he act again? And if he did, could anyone survive what was coming next? The room seemed to hold its breath as Marcus replayed the final frame, the human standing alone among the 7 defeated operatives.
Calm.
Collected. Perfectly in control. Marcus swallowed, realizing that the conflict wasn't over. It had only just begun. The next morning, the hum of the security office felt heavier, loaded with questions that had no answers. Marcus had barely slept, haunted by the footage replaying itself behind his eyelids. 7 elite operatives reduced to nothing, neutralized with surgical precision. How could one man achieve such a feat? And more importantly, who or what was he? Lee arrived first, coffee in hand, his expression grim. I checked the logs overnight, he said quietly. Nothing new. No alerts, no anomalies. Just the same footage on repeat. Marcus rubbed his temples. Official channels have blocked all additional data. They're keeping this under wraps, as expected. But someone or something wants us to see exactly what happened. He motioned to the holoscreen. We need to dig deeper. Find out who this human is, what he's capable of, and why the agency is covering it up. Lee nodded. Agreed. But we'll need a team. At least 3 others. Experienced analysts, sharp enough to catch things even the footage misses. By mid-morning, a small team assembled in the secure briefing room. Marcus and Lee, joined by analysts Cole Harrington and Malik Rhodes, both decorated for tactical analysis and field strategy. Cole was methodical, always the one to notice a minor detail others overlooked. Malik was intuitive, reading between lines and patterns, predicting outcomes before data could confirm them. All 4 men were seasoned, capable, and yet uneasy in a way Marcus hadn't seen before. Marcus initiated the briefing. You've seen the official report. 1 human, 7 casualties, self-defense. But the footage tells a different story. What you're looking at is not desperation, it's premeditated, controlled, almost engineered efficiency. Cole leaned forward, frowning. Engineered? Are we talking about enhancements? Marcus nodded slowly.
Possibly.
Genetic, technological, or training beyond any conventional standard. I don't know yet. But he neutralized 7 elite operatives without hesitation, without error. This is outside human norms. Malik interjected, voice low and precise. And the agency doesn't want anyone to know the truth. That much is obvious. They're framing this as self-defense to avoid scrutiny, political fallout, or exposure of something far bigger. Marcus pulled up individual dossiers of the 7 operatives on the hollow screen. Let's break it down. Each of them is exceptional. Rourke, martial arts, precision combat. Jansen, tactical infiltration, close quarters. Patel, tech genius strategy. Chen, Vasquez, Novak, Simmons, each a specialist, each trained to respond to extreme threats. And yet, every one of them failed. Cole studied the profiles. Failure at this scale suggests overwhelming capability on the other side. Either the human is augmented, or he's a natural phenomenon we haven't cataloged. Lee shifted uneasily. Natural or augmented, it doesn't change the danger. If he's capable of this, he's a threat to anyone in his path, or an asset beyond comprehension. But who decides which he is? Malik's gaze lingered on the paused frame of the human standing over the 7 defeated operatives. I'm more concerned about intent than capability. He doesn't seem reckless. He didn't attack with malice. Efficiency, yes. But calm, controlled. That's a decision-making process we need to understand. That's intelligence we can't ignore. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine.
Exactly.
He isn't just powerful, he's calculating. And the fact that he can neutralize 7 elite operatives without breaking a sweat means he's already far beyond what the agency anticipated. The room fell silent, each man contemplating the implications. Marcus finally spoke, his voice measured but tense. We need to trace his history. Who trained him? Where did he come from? Was he part of an experimental program? A secret military project? Or something else entirely? Cole adjusted his glasses. We can access restricted archives, cross-reference personnel records, training logs, and classified experiments. But we'll need clearance, and that's not easy. Lee's jaw tightened. The higher-ups won't give it. They're already spinning the story. Any attempt to investigate further could be flagged as unauthorized activity. Marcus leaned back, studying each man's expression. Which is why we have to be discreet. We can't risk alerting him, or anyone else, while we dig. The moment they know we're watching, they'll adapt. And if he's as capable as the footage suggests, any misstep could be fatal. Malik exhaled slowly. You're saying we're not just investigating. We're under observation ourselves. And if he's aware, he's already calculating our moves. Marcus nodded. Precisely. This isn't a conventional investigation. We're dealing with a human who operates on a different level. Every action we take could have consequences far beyond what we can predict. Cole studied the paused frame again, tracing the trajectory of the human's movements with a stylus. There's a pattern here. Every strike, every deflection, every counter, it's almost like a language. He communicates through motion, anticipates reactions, controls the battlefield with thought as much as action. Lee shook his head. And the agency still calls it self-defense. They've written a report to make the impossible seem mundane. Marcus's eyes narrowed.
Exactly.
And that's why we have to uncover the truth ourselves. If this goes public, if the wrong people know what he's capable of, it could destabilize everything. Politically, militarily, strategically. We have to know who we're dealing with, and fast. Malik glanced at the screen one last time, before shutting down the footage. 1 man, 7 elite operatives, defeated in seconds. Calm, controlled, and untouchable. Whoever he is, he's already rewriting the rules. And the real question is, will he use this again? And if so, who or what will be next? Marcus's chest tightened. And that's why we start here. The human isn't just a subject of observation, he's a variable none of us fully understand. We have to follow the thread, trace the origins, and understand the full scope of his abilities. Because what we've seen in the footage, it's only the beginning. The room fell silent, tension coiling in the air like a living thing. Each man understood the stakes. They weren't just investigators. They were witnesses to something extraordinary. And the knowledge they sought carried a weight heavier than any report, heavier than any classified file, heavier than the fear of consequences. Outside, the city moved on, oblivious. Inside the secure room, four men stared at a paused image of a human who had already changed the rules. And for the first time, Marcus realized, nothing would ever be the same. The hum of the secure briefing room felt heavier than ever. Marcus, Lee, Cole, and Malik had spent the better part of the day cross-referencing classified files, digging into personnel logs, and tracing obscure records buried deep in the agency's archives. Every lead pointed to one conclusion: the human was exceptional, engineered or trained beyond conventional limits, and the agency had gone to extraordinary lengths to conceal it. Marcus leaned forward, eyes scanning the final report he had compiled. "I've traced him back to Project Helios," he said quietly. "A program buried for decades, supposedly terminated. Genetic enhancement, combat simulation, adaptive intelligence algorithms, everything points to the same outcome. They built him to be perfect." Lee rubbed his forehead, disbelief written across his features. Perfect? So the footage we saw wasn't a fluke. He was designed for this. 7 elite operatives? Nothing to him. And they let him loose. Cole adjusted his glasses, voice steady but cold. Not just let him loose. They've been observing his performance. Every move recorded, every action calculated. The report of self-defense? That's a cover. The agency wanted to see how far he could push himself and how he would handle resistance. Malik's jaw tightened. So, what we're looking at isn't a man anymore, it's a weapon. One that's smarter, faster, stronger than anything else in the field. And we've been tasked with keeping it secret. Marcus leaned back, eyes narrowing. We're tasked with understanding it. And if we fail, the consequences could be catastrophic. If this human acts without oversight, no one is safe. Not the agency, not the operatives, not the world. The hollow screen flickered, showing the paused frame of the human standing over the 7 neutralized operatives. Marcus studied the figure again. Calm, composed, calculating. There was no trace of hesitation, no hint of remorse, only complete mastery. And now, knowing the truth, the image carried an almost frightening weight. He wasn't just capable of defeating 7 men, he was capable of changing the rules entirely. Lee broke the silence. Do we even have a choice? If the agency won't intervene, if the world doesn't know, then we're the only ones who can decide what comes next. Marcus's fingers drummed against the console. We have information, yes. But he's aware he's being watched. He'll adapt. He's already several moves ahead of us. The real question isn't what he can do, it's what he will do. Cole leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. And what if he's already decided? What if the next target isn't a field exercise or a test, but someone we care about? Or someone in power? The footage is only a glimpse of potential, not the full spectrum. Malik's eyes darkened. We've been analyzing him as a subject, but he doesn't see us the same way. To him, we're variables, obstacles, observers in a simulation. If we're not careful, the simulation could become reality. Marcus exhaled slowly, realization settling like ice in his veins. Which means we have to anticipate him, understand him, and act before he does. The agency can't or won't. And if he's as capable as we've seen, conventional methods won't work. Anything less than complete understanding and we're blind, exposed. The room was silent again, each man grappling with the enormity of what they had uncovered. Marcus turned his gaze back to the paused image. The human's posture was casual, almost elegant, yet it radiated absolute authority. It was a reminder that the rules no longer applied to him. Humanity's limits had been redefined, and no one, not the agency, not the investigators, was truly in control. A soft alert blinked on the console. Marcus froze, heart tightening. The feed was live again, and in the corner of the frame, just for a split second, he thought he saw movement. The human was no longer in the location captured in the footage. He had moved. Or perhaps he had known they were watching all along. The implications were terrifying. Lee's voice was quiet, but edged with urgency. He's aware. He knows. And if he's already planning his next move, Marcus's jaw tightened. Then we need to be ready. Not just to observe, but to act. And that requires more than knowledge. It requires understanding the mind behind the movements, predicting his decisions before they happen. We're dealing with an apex human. The rules we've followed, the strategies we know, they don't apply anymore. Cole exhaled, unease settling in his eyes. And if we fail? Marcus met each man's gaze, determination hardening in his expression. Then the world sees what we saw on that footage, but too late to stop it. And the report of self-defense becomes a footnote in a catastrophe no one could have predicted. Malik shook his head slowly. So what now? We keep watching? We keep analyzing? Or do we try to reach him, confront him, understand him directly? Marcus considered this, eyes narrowing. We prepare. We anticipate. And we wait. But we can't wait passively. The human isn't bound by protocol, by morality, by expectation. And neither can we. We have to adapt, or we become irrelevant, variables in his experiment rather than observers of it. The room fell silent again, each man lost in thought. Outside, the city carried on unaware. Inside, four men stared at a paused image of a human who had already rewritten the rules of engagement. Marcus's hand hovered over the console, almost instinctively, as if reaching toward a future he could not yet see. And somewhere, Marcus knew, the human was moving again. Calculating. Watching. Waiting. The screen dimmed, leaving only the faint hum of the room and the weight of inevitability. Marcus exhaled, a single thought looping in his mind. Whatever came next, humanity had changed. And for better or worse, the world would have to catch up or be left behind.